There's a lot of static today on the line.
Good afternoon, trustees, staff, and member of the public who are joining our January 13, 2026 Policy and Bylaw Standing Committee meeting. This meeting is called to order. We're very pleased to have the full house this afternoon with my trustee colleagues, Trustee Cohen here present, Trustee Kolosowski online, Trustee Cindy Liang here in person, Trustee McCarthy online, Trustee Mahmood online, and Trustee Sinclair in person. And we'll also like to welcome Trustee Butterworth and Trustee Lin to join us. And also very happy to have our General Counsel, Fanny Im, to join our policy meeting as well. Thank you for coming. Land acknowledgement, I would like to, at this time, I'd like to invite Trustee Lin to deliver our land acknowledgement. Trustee Lin, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. This is a great opportunity to start the year correctly with the land acknowledgement, and I'm going to deliver the land acknowledgement at our first 2026 Policy and Bylaw Standing Committee. We affirm that we are all treaty people and acknowledge that the York Region District School Board is located on the lands of 2 treaties. These treaties have been signed with the Mississauga of the Credit First Nation and the First Nations of the Williams Treaties, who are the Mississaugas of Alderville, Curve Lake, Hiawatha, Schuylkill Island, and the Chippewas of Busseley, Rama, and Georgina Island, who is our closest neighbor and partner in education. To honor this agreement, we will take up our responsibility to be respectful of their traditions, knowledge, and inherent rights as sovereign nations. We will respect their relationship with this lands and recognize that our connection to this lands is through the continued relationship with this First Nations, and we acknowledge our shared responsibility to respect and care for the land and waters for future generations. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Trustee Lin. Approval of agenda without objection. The agenda as presented shall be adopted. Is there any objections, trustees? Without objection, the agenda is adopted. Declaration of conflict of interest. At this time, the chair would like to ask any trustees who has a direct personal interest or direct or indirect pecuniary interest in any matters being discussed by the board during this meeting to state the conflict and nature thereof. Okay. Approval of minutes from the previous meeting. The minutes of the December 9th, 2025 Policy and Bylaw Standing Committee meeting have been distributed to all trustees. Are there any corrections to the minutes? No? Okay. As there are no corrections, the minutes are approved as presented. Director's remark. I would like to now recognize Director Kober to provide his remark. Please.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Good afternoon, everyone. And I don't think we've yet passed the date where it's too late to say Happy New Year. So Happy New Year and welcome back to policy as we embark upon policy for 2026. Thank you very much, Mr. Chair, for introducing General Counsel Fanny Im. Pleased to introduce Fanny as a member of our team and here to support the work. So Fanny, welcome to our first policy meeting. Thank you very much. Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'll be brief. We have policies for first review today that we're looking at are Policy and Procedure 275, Partisan Activities and Campaigning, and then policies for second review, Policy and Procedure 180, External Research, and Policy and Procedure 222, Conflict of Interest. And we look forward to the discussion and dialogue. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Director Kober. Delegations. There are no community delegation before the committee this afternoon. We'll move on to the policy for first review. Policy 275, Partisan Activities and Campaigning. The chair now would like to recognize Policy Officer Daniel Rubero to share the policy for the first review. Daniel?
Thank you. Through the chair, good afternoon, trustees. Today we have Director Bill Kober, Executive Officer Corporate Communications Lucinio Miguelo, and Manager Trustee Services Audrey Ballard to share updates to policy number 275, Partisan Activities and Campaigning. This policy was last reviewed in 2022 and is now due for first review. The Partisan Activities and Campaigning policy and the associated procedure addresses the board's belief that all trustees, committee members, candidates for any elected position, and staff members as representatives of the YRDSB, are entrusted with the responsibility for appropriately using board resources at all times, including during election campaign periods. The Elections Act, the Municipal Elections Act, and the Education Act were reviewed, and no updates related to this policy and procedure were identified. This policy and procedure ensures that the stewardship of board resources is upheld by demonstrating ethical leadership through professionalism and accountability for high standards of practice in all board operations and decisions. We reviewed the policy and made minor changes since it was last reviewed. And in terms of next steps, if approved by the committee this evening, the policy will be posted as a working document for 6 school months to gather public feedback. And I'll now turn it over to Bill, Audrey, and Lucinio for any additional comments. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Through you, Mr. Chair, I think we've captured the highlights of what we've gone through with this particular policy, and we recognize that it often comes forward on the eve of a municipal election as it's worked through the procedure and the review. So we'll leave it for your discussion. Thank you.
Thank you, Director Colbert. So, trustees, if you have any questions, please be mindful that the question must be germane to the questions. Now I will open up the floor for questions. I will start with Trustee Cohen, please.
Thank you, Chair. In 2.2, it states trustees are encouraged to use professional judgment when using their role or affiliation with the YRDSB to support any other candidates in partisan activities or campaigning. So my question is, what is an example of using unprofessional judgment? Thank you.
Mr. Chair, thank you. Specifically, unprofessional judgment would be difficult to define because, as you could imagine, it would depend. So where there's a perceived conflict, something like that, or inappropriate use of resources, something like that would be considered very challenging, if that clarifies for you, Trustee Cohen.
Can I? So I guess I'm just imagining that I want to support a candidate. Is it acceptable to advertise that I am supporting that candidate? Is that professional or is that unprofessional?
As an elected official, it would be perceived as probably by other candidates as a conflict and could be referred to our policy to be reviewed.
Okay, thank you. Okay.
And each case-by-case scenario would be, of course, could be viewed differently as you understand.
Mm-hmm. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Director Colbert. I see that Trustee Mahmood has a question online. Trustee Mahmood, please go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So, to you, just a quick question. So we are going to have this out for 6 months, 6 school months. Question I have is around the rate period, right? Has it changed? I think it used to be January 1st and now it's changed to May 1st, right? If I'm not mistaken. Or has it always been May 1st? I'm not sure. And that if it has changed, then May 1st will fall earlier than this policy is under review for 6 months. How would that change will take effect? Just some clarity around it, please.
Thank you, Trustee Mahmood. The policy would be posted after being approved at the next board meeting, which would be February the 3rd, and that would be our working copy. So it would be, in effect, our copy of the policy would be up and running for the May 1st deadline. April 30th is the deadline we have to be in compliance of our policies. But because it will be approved as our working document, that will be what our working document is, and that's what we will follow. So it will still be, it will be in compliance with the date that the government requests that we have our working policies for election. Does that answer your question?
Yes, that does. So that means that the May 1st is the new date, right? I was not.
The policies have to be in order by April 30th. May 1st is when nominations can open.
Okay, got it. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you, Trustee Mamu, for your question. Trustee Butterworth, please go ahead.
Thank you very much, Chair. I have two questions. So back to 2.2, where it says trustees may continue to fulfill their legislated responsibilities, et cetera, ... And then the next line, it goes on about must ensure that their activities conducted. So I'm just a little conflicted between the may continue, because that sounds like there's, you can or you don't have to. But then the rest is basically what you have to do during that time in terms of ensuring that your activities, have to be conducted outside of legislative responsibilities, et cetera. So I'm just wondering, should we have a stronger word than may? So that's my first question. My second question is going down to use of board resources, about the personal devices. So, for example, my phone is, I'm using my own phone and getting, subsidized, is subsidized from the board, but it is my own phone. I'm not using a board phone. So if I was to campaign, how does that affect that? Those are my two questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'm going to have Mr. Miguelo speak to that in regards to operational matters of still working in the role of trustee and then the matters of a campaign period. Mr. Miguelo.
Thank you, Mr. Director, through you, and thank you because I think, someone else may want to clarify the financial aspect of it. As it relates to trustees may continue to fulfill their legislated responsibilities, one example that may bring to light the language that's in here is graduations. So graduations take place after the candidacy period opens in May 1st, and trustees would still be expected to, should you choose, to speak at graduations. That is not considered a campaign activity. If you speak at graduations, you are not to campaign at graduations, and so that would be the distinction, right? And so continuing to conduct yourselves in the role as trustees, as elected officials, without campaigning while in that role. As it relates to campaign finances and doing that, I don't know if perhaps, Mr. Director, there's someone else that wants to speak to that. There are very particular rules as it relates to campaign financing and the source of those funds, and whether or not we have the expertise here, or someone, if you want to seek that out yourself, because as you know, your campaign finances are audited at the end of every election cycle.
Through you, Mr. Chair, I will contribute in those campaign statements as you work through the municipality, because the municipality of wherever the trustee is elected looks after the election process. The campaign statements, as Mr. Miguelo was speaking to, are filed with the municipality. And so the campaign finance is through the municipality. And I know OPSPA and I know AMO run significant seminars in regards to campaign finances, because frequently there are changes each campaign to the rules around fundraising and around campaign spending. And so it's always recommended that candidates have the opportunity to view those rules and view those seminars, because there's updates usually every election cycle to them. Thank you, Mr. Miguelo. I'll invite Audrey also.
Under 2.5, the paragraph board provisioned or subsidized devices such as but not limited to computers and smartphones may not be used to access, monitor, or engage in partisan activities or campaigning. And if your phone is paid at all by the board, then it would be included.
It's a work phone. You're doing your work.
Okay, but I know I'm not the only one. There's others who have their own personal phone, when asked, continue to use their personal phone as their board phone, and that's the number that's associated with them. I mean, there's other trustees who have used their own phones, and that was not definitely given as an option to say, you know, well, you need to have a board phone. I mean, it was an option, but you had the option to choose, and so I chose not to have two phones. I chose to have one, and that's my number for everything.
We can work through that offline.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much, everyone. Okay, so, oh, yeah, Trustee Kolosowski, please go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you to all the staff for helping to make some edits to this this policy here. I'd like to point out a different section, specifically 4.1, but how it pertains to section 2.3. So 2.3 is, I believe, very well written. It explains, for example, that staff members must not use their role or affiliation to support any partisan activities or campaigning. So of course that leads to the question of how are partisan activities defined, and that's explained in section 4.1. So 4.1 states that partisan activity is any activity or behavior that is considered to be affiliated with a political party or political position. I would argue that this definition is extremely narrow and excludes many of the issues that various school boards have gotten in trouble with for. So I took a look at some other organizations and how they define it. Here's one example from another organization which states partisan activity means any action, communication, expression, conduct, material, or omission, direct or indirect, explicit or implicit, verbal, written, symbolic, visual, or digital, that a reasonable person would interpret as supporting, opposing, endorsing, promoting, or discouraging a political party, ideology, movement, candidate, office holder, or policy position. So my question is, have we looked at broadening this definition? For example, rather than just mentioning political parties and political positions, maybe we should include the things such as political candidates, political philosophies, political ideologies, and also make it clear that both promoting or condemning such partisan activity is prohibited, and to also make it clear that we're not simply talking about activity that is formally affiliated, but more broadly may be associated, because when we see political activity, it's not always formally affiliated through, you know, some codependent system, but it's often very decentralized. So how can we look at broadening this definition to make sure that it encapsulates everything that would be of concern? Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Through you, Mr. Miguelo.
Thank you, Mr. Director. Through you, thank you for that question, Trustee Kolosowski. I'm going to date myself here, but going back to 2018 when this was first written, that policy was taken with language from the Integrity Commissioner of Ontario and was based on provincial language. But certainly I think we could take that back through Daniel and Alden and see if they've updated it just to ensure we're aligned with the province.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and through you, thank you for the response. I think that that answers part of it in terms of, when we talk about things like trustees using board resources for partisan activity. But I think when we're talking about, the day-to-day of, how students are being educated in the classroom, how staff members interact with students, I think we need to have a broader definition. And if that definition isn't included, I'm not sure if I'll be able to support this at a further reading of the policy. Thank you.
Thank you, Trustee Kolosowski, for your input. Okay, do we have any other trustee that has questions? No, okay. Trustee Cohen, yep. Okay, please go ahead for your second question.
Thank you, Chair. 2.10, all candidate meetings may be held in schools or other board facilities, provided a minimum of 2 candidates or designates for the same position have been invited and confirm their attendance at least 1 week prior to the meeting. If only 1 candidate is confirmed to attend, the event must be rescheduled or canceled. I'm just wondering, do we need to mention that all candidates for that position should have been invited, and there should be at least 2 that attend? Would it be biased if only a few were invited, but not everyone was invited? I'm just wondering.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Through you to Trustee Cohen, and I'll ask Mr. Miguelo to add into this, but I can share with you the language of that is inclusive of sometimes there's only 1 candidate for 1 particular office. And so as a result of that, they often want the opportunity to be included in an all candidates meeting. So you may have a municipality where they're having a all candidates meeting where they've included 3 wards and school trustees. And so they have a full slate of candidates for the ward election, but only 1 candidate for school trustee, and the school trustee wishes to participate. But I would ask Mr. Miguelo if he wanted to contribute further to why that language is specific like that. Hopefully that's helpful. Mr. Miguelo.
Thank you. I think the only thing that I would contribute through you to Trustee Cohen is the subsequent paragraph that says that all candidates' meetings must be structured so all candidates or designates for any position are invited. And so the intent behind that language is to ensure that if it is for a trustee or mayor, et cetera, they're all invited.
Got it. Thank you. I didn't keep reading. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Trustee Cohen. Okay, do we have any other trustee for further comment or questions before we move on? Oh, okay, Trustee Sinclair, please go ahead.
Just as a point of interest and information for myself, the municipalities is the one who conducts the meeting. We as a board don't really get too involved. So an all candidates meeting, would it be called by the board, or would it not be called by the regional council or the municipality?
Thank you,
Just
Dr.
need to check.
Thank you, Dr. Sinclair. Mr. Chair, I'm going to ask Mr. Miguel to speak to that as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Director, and through you to Dr. Sinclair. Thank you for that good question. So you're right that these meetings don't happen as frequently as they used to happen. And with that frequency, they were mostly hosted by chambers of commerce, actually, and they were looking for places where to host the all candidates meetings. And in order for us to provide them with a space to do that, because they would look to do it in schools, we wanted to ensure that there was a structure in place of fairness and nonpartisanship. So this section of the policy isn't put to use as much as it used to be, but certainly it would be outside groups hosting this. From time to time, school councils have gotten involved, or even student councils have gotten involved, but not to the frequency that we used to see.
Just as a follow-up, so you're saying then, because I know by-election, then we're responsible. But when there's a full election, we're not responsible. Yes or no? The by-election, I understand, because it's just running for trustee's office. So all candidates, yes, we should invite them. I'm just saying, should we not make some kind of distinction between in here about by-elections or, because for the full council, full general meeting, that is done by the local council.
So
They're
the
held as-
provision 2.10 is intended for any instance of any election, whether it's a trustee by-election, a federal by-election, or a general election at any level or jurisdiction, that if someone is going to have an all-candidates meeting or an information night for candidates leading up to an election during the RIP period and after the RIP period has been called, how we provision the space. So if they're taking out a permit, it would be someone taking out a permit or a group taking out a permit to have those all candidates meetings or those information evenings with candidates to ensure that our space isn't being provided to just one particular candidate, and then it would be a partisan, to prevent those partisan events from occurring.
Okay. Thank you very much. And finally, I'd like to invite Trustee Lin for his question. Please
Thank
go
you,
ahead.
Mr. Chair. I appreciate all the question. I'm sure that there are a lot of nuance that as the director alluded. From my previous experience, 18 and 22 with the question asked greatly for the right reason. I think the 2.10 all candidate meetings, consider York Region District School Board, we carry 9 municipalities, it is not normal, for example, that there will be some external organization from Vaughan that will like invite people from Markham or Newmarket. It is very locally and done by some third party rather than us together as a board to conduct those all candidate meetings. So I remember the last 2 times, and Dr. Sinclair, we have been doing this 8 years together. I think 2.10 over the past 8 years never applied to us directly because we don't have an all candidate meeting. It's all done by the local municipality or constituent groups or parents group or any stakeholder group. So, but I think that the question is asked here rightly so that we can understand the nature of this. I just want to offer my a context from what I've been experiencing. And I would say that this, when the rate dropped May 1st, we are bound by the Municipal Election Act and the Ed Act and this policy. I think the Act itself will supersede any of what we are doing. I think the important to uphold the public interest is that each individual trustee, especially the incumbent, when we are after the rip drop, is to continue to uphold our legislative responsibility as our local trustee for our constituent, and Manager Miguelo give a good example about graduation that like we shouldn't talk about. I'm running 3 months from now, right? So I think this is a good reminder discussion for everybody here, and including our colleagues that is not in there. That's mainly for the elected position. So that is just my 2 cents of sharing. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Trustee Lin, for your insight. Okay, so let's move on. So, I understand that we'll have a very fruitful conversation here, and this policy will be circulated for further review. So definitely there will be a lot of opportunity for my trustee colleagues to speak to the policy staff. Okay, so without objection, the recommended motion shall be adopted, that in accordance with Board Policy 285, Board Policies, Procedures, and Supporting Documents, Policy 275, Partisan Activities and Campaigning, will be circulated for comment for 6 school months. Okay, so without objection, the aforementioned motion is adopted. Thank you very much, everyone. We will move on to policies for second review. Policy 180, external research. I would like to once again recognize Policy Officer Daniel Roberto to share the policy for second review. Daniel?
Thank you. And through the chair, this evening we have with us Coordinating Superintendent of Education, Equity, Inclusive School and Community Services, Research and Assessment Services, Lois Agard, and Manager of Research and Assessment Services, Irhan Sanai, to share updates to policy number 180, external research. This policy was last reviewed in 2025 and is now due for second review. We have received some feedback from the public since it was posted for public comment for 6 school months, which was considered in the second review of this policy. This policy was developed in accordance with Canada's anti-spam legislation and the Municipal Freedom of Information and Protection of Privacy Act. We reviewed both sets of legislation and found no updates related to them. This policy specifically addresses expectations for institutions, agencies, staff members, or other individuals making requests to conduct non-board initiated research in its schools and departments. And this policy reflects the board's support of research activities in its schools and departments that align with system priorities as outlined in board plans, including the multi-year strategic plan, district action plan, and board strategies. As you can see, we worked with staff to review the policy and made minor revisions to the responsibilities of existing individuals or groups. And if the committee approves the policy, it will proceed to the board meeting on February 3rd, 2026 for final approval. And I'll turn it over to Lois for any additional comments. Thank you.
Thank you, Daniel. And I have very limited additions, just more to reiterate. As Daniel noted, this is the second review, and the working document has circulated following the initial review, as well as we received all feedback that was received was incorporated. Feedback tended to focus on wording changings and just updating links. So we have again carefully reviewed and made those tweaks as noted, as well as I did want to acknowledge that we received feedback from the EAC subcommittee and included those changes as well.
Thank you. Trustees, do you have any questions regarding this policy for second review? Please go ahead. Okay. Anyone online? Okay. Yeah, I have Trustee Mahmood online that raised his hand. Trustee Mahmood, please go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I have 2 minor queries. So once an organization or a external research committee or external research candidates have requested a research, we give them, as per the policy I've read we give them an authorization, then the committee will review all that stuff. My question is that who ensures that they follow the process once they have been given the approval? That's one. And my second question on the same lines is that does this cover any media requests? So sometimes the media request comes in, they want some data because then they're going to take it and then do some analysis based on that data, right? I personally think that it doesn't cover under this policy, but I could be wrong. So I just want some clarity on that if this is also covered along with that.
Thank you, Trustee Mahmood, and through you, Chair, I will start the initial response and then turn it over to Irhan Sanai, our research manager who's joining us online. Absolutely, that once a research project has been approved, they are supported and they work alongside the research department. And so we do ensure that those whatever the parameters over the research, that the researchers adhere to that. By agreeing to partake in our research process, they also have to honor that. And should they not, we would have the tools to support, quite frankly, discontinuing the research if we felt that the research veered from the initial understanding of it. And secondly, in regards to media, that also would be covered within the parameters. And certainly for us, the whole point of any research project is to be benefiting the York Region District School Board community. And so the initial outlet would not be to be supporting media, garnering media attention, but again, how is that work supporting within the York Region District School Board? And I'll turn it over to Erhan to add some more points.
Yes, we do have very comprehensive representations at the external review committee that include the myself. We have project managers from the research department that we follow up, every single steps, and we ask the researchers to provide us the status updates 3 times a year, and we do also follow up with the summary reports that we are planning to post them at our external website as well. Thank you.
Thank you, staff. Is there anything else? Okay, no. Okay, oh, okay, yes. So I see that Trustee McCarthy is next, but I will, right after, it's Trustee Cohen. Oh, hold on, yeah. It's Trustee McCarthy, yeah, okay. Okay, Trustee McCarthy, you online?
Yes, thank you, Chair. I'm happy if Trustee Cohen goes ahead of me, but I'm ready.
It's okay, yeah.
Okay, thank you. So my question is about, I just have 2 questions, but they go hand in hand. And Trustee Mahmood had a good question, one of my questions too, so that was good. So the question is, I think it's 2.5 on page, where's the page? I lost the page number, but it's 2.5, and it's talking about the members of the committee, which were just addressed. So I was happy to hear that. And I think it's 2.3, forgive me, where it says the principal does not have to participate in the research. The principal of the school, if I'm understanding that correctly, does not have to participate in the research. I just wanted to get some clarity around that. And then my next question is I'm just not clear, is the research project done live, for example, polling students, or is it done using our own data, or is it both? And I just, and then I think it was just mentioned that the summaries are given to us, and that would be my question is, do we have access to the data? Is it now the data belongs to us, or does the data belong to the researcher? And I'm just, again, with what the previous trustee said about the misusing that information is my concern. So the question is about, can the principals of the school refuse to participate in the survey? Am I reading that correctly? Or not survey, the research? And then second part is, if they, is the data obtained from our own data, or is it live polling, some things like that? Thank you for that. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Chair, and through you, Chair, I'll start that response, and then Erhan will continue. And in regards to the first claim, whether or not the principal of a school could refuse the research, the short answer is yes. So while the external research committee might approve and support a research project, it may not fit the context of the school, and so therefore that would be in consultation support with the SO and so forth. There may be an opportunity. So despite that from the level of the committee that we do see this as potential research, there may be a local context that we have missed, and the principal, being the person in charge of the school, would be able to support why that research would not necessarily involve that particular environment. And again, that would be through consultation. To your second question, which I'm pretty excited about because it really dives into the different types of research. And so it really depends on what the research project is. In some cases, it may require quantitative data, and depending on that quantitative data could be things that we've already have available, whether through our Power BI or various other forms of record keeping that we have. as well as it could be a mixed method, so a combination of qualitative and quantitative. In most cases, it's going to involve, and this is again why research projects are vetted to the level of scrutiny that the external committee does provide, is that it needs to be beneficial to what we are doing here in York Region, and it can't add an added burden. So in those cases, the requirement of individual students doing qualitative interviews and so forth, those are things that the committee would look at beforehand and determine if that was necessary. So I guess the short answer is it depends on what the researcher is looking to investigate and the best methods to collect that information.
Thank you, staff. Trustee McCarthy, do you have any follow-up?
Thank you. No follow-up. I really appreciate those answers, and those answers are in line with what I agree with. So thank you very much. That's it for me.
Thank you. Moving on, I'd like to invite Trustee Cohen. Please go ahead.
Thank you, Chair. Actually, my question was Pamela's question regarding the principals being the final deciders. So now my follow-up to that would be, if one principal refuses or feels it's not appropriate, can another principal be approached to do that same project, the research?
Thank you.
Question one.
Oh, sorry.
Thank you.
Oh, okay, thank you. So thank you for that question, Trustee Cohen. And I think at this time, I'll turn it over to Erhan, who leads the process, and kind of give some a visual or a better understanding of what that will look like. Erhan?
Thank you, Luis, and to you, Mr. Chair. Definitely, principals have the right to reject and not to participate. And think it like this: if they propose that these schools are going to be participate, it is approved by only those schools to be participated. It's not, if the researcher needs to change it to another school, they have to go to the process again and apply to us again. So it's not, it doesn't work to switch to another. They have to have a rationale written back to us in order to do that. Hope I answered your question.
So I'm just a bit confused. So does the request come directly to one specific principal, or just a general request, and we choose the principal we think would be appropriate? And then if that principal says, no, thank you, do we have a chance to ask another principal?
Depends on the nature of the research, right? So if most of the cases, it's not one school, it's several schools that is going to engage. So if it is the several schools that is going to be engaged in that nature of the research, and a research is, some principals reject it, they have to go to the process again. So it depends on what the nature. If it is one school, again, if that one school principal doesn't want to participate, the researcher needs to resubmit a rationale and to go through the process again. We don't allow folks, to just pick any schools, but sometimes, for example, if we get advice from our other departments, like curriculum and instructional services, and they are also guiding the process in terms of what are the best schools. As I said, it depends on basic nature of the request and the research of what, in terms of any cases that you are trying to actually ask. And it never happened so far.
And if I can add, it's more likely that they are looking for a profile of a school versus a specific school. So if in this case, the initial case that was deemed to be the best profile, if that would not be appropriate, then that would be within our realm to go back and to see what we needed to do. But if there was such a specificity in the request, then yes, the researcher would need to resubmit another project.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Any other trustee has questions? Okay, I see none. So thank you, Lois, and thank you, Erhan, for answering all the questions. So Without objection, the recommended motion shall be adopted, that in accordance with Board Policy 285, Board Policies, Procedures, and Supporting Documents, Working Document Policy 180, External Research, will be forwarded to the February 3rd, 2026 Board meeting for final approval. And without objection, the aforementioned motion is adopted. Thank you, everyone. Moving on to our second policy for second review is Policy 222, Conflict of Interest. Once again, I'd like to welcome Policy Officer Daniel Roberto to share the insights. Daniel?
Thank you. And through the chair, for this final item for policy, we have Coordinating Superintendent of Education, Human Resource Services, People and Culture, Steve Gardner, and Senior Manager, Human Resource Services, Rosemary Cameron, and Teresa Striga to share updates to policy number 222, Conflict of Interest. This policy is due for second review and was last reviewed in 2025. This policy and procedure addresses how a conflict of interest for trustees and staff members are handled. This policy ensures the stewardship of board resources by demonstrating professionalism and accountability for high standards of practice in all board operations and decisions. We worked with staff to review the policy and made several revisions, such as revisions to the policy statement section and the application section to clarify which individuals or groups this policy applies to. As you can see, the definition of conflict of interest was expanded to include volunteers as well. And we have also reviewed the Education Act and Municipal Conflict of Interest Act and found no updates that were relevant to this specific policy. Upon approval of the policy, it will proceed to the board meeting on February 3rd, 2026 for final approval, and I'll turn it over to Steve for any additional comments. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Daniel, and good afternoon, and through you, Chair Chen. Not a great deal to add, but the one piece we would like to reinforce really is the addition of volunteers, both in the policy statement and the application portion of that, and that really is the change to the document itself. And Rosemary, Teresa, and myself, excuse me, welcome any questions you might have.
Thank you. Trustees, do you have any questions? Okay. Anyone online has a question? No? Okay. Okay. Trustee Kolosowski, please go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you to the staff for putting this together. I think the addition of volunteers to the policy is a good idea. I do have a question, though. The policy here allows for gifts of nominal value to be accepted by staff. I don't believe we have a definition of nominal value. I know different organizations have different definitions. For example, under the York Catholic District School Board, their definition was, if I can get it here, I had it open a second ago. Their definition is $100 of fair market value. The CRA defines it as $500 or less. What is our number for nominal value?
Thank you for the question. And through you, Chair Chen. So right now, I don't have a dollar figure that we've stated, and I'm just going to look to my left with Rosemary and Teresa if they know differently. As you said, we talk about incidental gifts, customary hospitality, or other benefits of nominal value, and we don't put a dollar amount to it. Rosemary, Teresa, is there anything that you'd add to that? So, yeah, the Trustee Kolosowski, we don't have a number that's attached to it, but absolutely appreciate the thinking in terms of where that target fits, if you will. So thank you for that question.
Through you, Mr. Chair, thank you very much for the information. So, for example, would a $300 gift card be considered nominal value?
Thank you for that question, and through you, Chair Chen. Yeah, again, because we don't have that dollar amount is sort of the, they're asking me to sort of be that, the arbiter of that dollar amount. And that's one where I'd be, whether it's, looking to our finance and then whether it's a CRA question. I don't have a direct response to provide. It's an important question you raised, though. Mr. Director Kober, please.
Thank you, Mr. Gardner, and Mr. Chair, through you to Trustee Kolosowski. Thank you very much for raising this important question because we recognize the concern around any value associated with anything. And so I would invite our legal counsel, Fanny, to share a comment around this, Ms. Im, to contribute to this, as well as CFO Maharaj in regard to the value. That's a very important item that you've raised here, sir, that we should have dialogue about.
Thank you, and through you, Chair. Different public sectors define nominal value with respect to public interest differently, and there's a wide range. The Ontario Public Service, for example, defines nominal value at, I believe, $25. And then you cited an example, Trustee Kolosowski, at $500. My recommendation, there are often disputes over nominal value, that a value be set in line with similar public bodies such as municipalities and the Ontario Public Service.
Thank you, Ms. Sim.
If I could just add, we define nominal value for donations as $25 or less. For purchasing, we define nominal value as $100 or less in our policy. In terms of what we would generally consider in terms of gift in kind, we would use $250, and in terms of honorariums and where we issue T4As for payments, we use $500. So anything less than that, we would consider an honorarium, which would be the equivalent of nominal. Anything above that, we consider substantial and would issue a T4A. So it depends on what circumstance. We're looking at a definition for nominal value, but it is defined in different policies for different purposes.
Okay, thank you, everyone. So my understanding is that for the flexibilities that we kept it on. Okay, thank you. So I'd like to welcome Trustee Mammuth online to ask his question. Please go ahead.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. I have one question, a couple of ones, some of them have already been asked. So one question I have is, how does this policy, because this policy also applies to trustees, right? But we also do have a code of conduct for trustees as well. Are they both served separately in cases of trustees, or they are they complement each other? I'm not clear on that. Right? So if you can clarify that, please.
Thank you for that question, Trustee Mahmood, and through you, Chair Chen. Yeah, I'd say they do in fact complement one another. They do not abut or conflict with one another. In this one, I think the language, quite itemized as it relates to the role of by role, so by way of trustees, the itemized what that looks like connected to conflict of interest, but in short, does not conflict with the other.
Okay, thank you very much. Thanks, Mr. Chair. That's it for me.
Thank you, Trustee Mammuth. Anyone else have questions? Okay. So if there are no questions, thank you, Steve, and thank you for the team for answering the questions. So without objection, the recommended motion shall be adopted. That in accordance with Board Policy 285, Board Policies, Procedures, and Supporting Documents Working Document Policy 222, Conflict of Interest, will be forwarded to the February 3rd, 2026 board meeting for final approval. Okay, without objection, the aforementioned motion is adopted. Thank you, everyone. Information items. Before the committee is the draft policy review schedule for 2026. I would like to invite Policy Officer Daniel Roberto to give us an overview of what's ahead. Please go ahead.
Thank you, and through the chair, this is the 2025-2026 draft policy review schedule, and happy to answer any questions that the committee may have. Thank you.
Any questions, everyone? No? Perfect. Moving on, so the date of our next meeting is scheduled to be on February 3rd, 2026. There are no other business in the agenda, so this marks the end of our Policy and Bylaw Standing Committee at 5:29. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, staff and trustee, for joining the meeting, and thank you all members of the public to join us online. Have a good night.
Good night.